today.
Right.
Okay, so you've been on the trail. A week ago, we were doing the show. President Biden was still in the race. We now have a presumptive new nominee. But less than a week later, Bret Stephens is writing this in the New York Times saying, the one thing the Democratic Party is not supposed to be is anti-democratic, a party in which insiders select the nominee from the top down, not the bottom up, and which expects the rank and file to fall in line and clap enthusiastically. That's the playbook of ruling parties in autocratic states. You know the optics of this, that it was donors who pulled the plug on President Biden, and they're the ones calling the shots about how this proceeds.
Well, it's true that the Democratic Party is not famous for falling in line. That's part of why it's so remarkable that in a matter of days, Kamala Harris has consolidated our big tent party. And this is something that is coming from the ground up. You can feel it. I was in a field office in Michigan yesterday, close to our home, and saw an extraordinary energy. So many people from different corners of our party ready to support Kamala Harris, ready for her to defeat Donald Trump. And it's a level of energy that, frankly, I haven't seen on the campaign trail in a long time.
You actually have gotten more delegates, though, than she has. I mean, when you ran back in 2020, you accrued them. She didn't get any delegates. She dropped out of that race. Former staffer of hers says she worries about this coronation. She wrote about it in The Atlantic, saying she wasn't tested and tried. Are you worried about it? Because Bret Stephens also says this. He says she's unpopular. She's been a bad campaigner. She's been a bad manager. She's a blue state Dem who's got to win purple states. She's anchored to the president's record. He worries that, well, maybe Democrats should be more worried that there hasn't been a thorough vetting. So when she gets into this head-to-head with President Trump, there will be wishes that she had been vetted.
The idea that somebody hasn't been tested or vetted when they have been Vice President of the United States for nearly 4 years just doesn't make any sense. She is in obviously one of the most visible leadership roles in the country, and she's demonstrated both her effectiveness in that job and a vision for the country that Americans agree with. And that's a real reason I think she's going to win, is that most Americans already agree with her on the issues that they care about the most, that affect them the most, whether we're talking about choice and her stance on defending a woman's right to choose versus Donald Trump, who eliminated a right to choose in this country.
Well, he sent it back to the states,
to
be fair.
Let's be very clear. He is proud of the fact that he demolished the national right to choose in this country, period.
But there are states that are figuring this out. I mean, there are some that are, I mean, it's nearly impossible, a 6-week ban or less. But there are others, there are states in this country that allow no restrictions up until the due date of a child.
There was a national right to choose in this country, law of the land, for 50 years, which the vast majority of Americans believed was the right thing to do. But Donald Trump made a promise when he was a candidate, one of the few promises he actually kept, by the way. You know, he didn't keep his promise of 6% economic growth. He didn't keep his promise to drain the swamp.
He did have a pandemic to deal with.
But even before the pandemic, America went into a manufacturing recession, which really hurt places like where I come from in the industrial Midwest. But anyway, my point is, he broke his promise for that kind of economic growth. He broke his promise to pass an infrastructure bill, right? He said he would do that. He failed to do it. The Biden-Harris administration got it done. He even broke his promise to that January 6th mob when he said, I will be at your side when you march down to the Capitol. But he actually did keep 2 promises. He kept his promise to destroy the right to choose in this country, and he kept his promise on tax cuts for the rich. And if you want to know what a second Trump term would be like, I would start by looking at those rare promises that he actually managed to keep.
He did say that he wanted to get rid of Roe v. Wade, but again, send it to the states where they are hashing this out
empower the states to eliminate women's access to abortion. And also, as you know, the Republican Party continues to be interested in a national abortion ban.
Which he's disavowed completely.
Yeah, he's disavowed a lot of things. I don't believe him. Because he lies all the time.
You think that his pledge that he would not pass a national ban is one that
it's one that's going to go down with most of the promises that he's made and broken.
Let's talk